situations in my life where I get involved in a project and I didn't start out as the leader, but I end up being the leader because I want to see something finish. I think that's what happened in KKY. It was, we didn't know each other so super well when we were working on KKY refounding. And so people took on the role, you know, we weren't sort of strategically thinking about who was best to take on these various capacities. And so in the end, I just sort of rolled up my sleeves and said, we're gonna be a chapter, and finished everything and got it finalized. I remember I wanted it over with. I wanted it done so badly that I finished at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I just did a marathon session and actually had it printed at Kinko's and then took it, you know, I just napped and took it to the post office first thing that I opened to send it in to Oklahoma. And then, you know, that was a group that I felt really passionately about because I really believe personally in service. I'm a very service-oriented individual. And so trying to do something that related to service and rewarded people for their service and for their service-mindedness was very important to me. It still is very important. I still do a lot of outreach and community work. But yeah, founding it was difficult. We sort of had the cream of the crop in many ways in the band, or we tried really hard to get certain people in. And we all had very strong personalities too. We got through it and we founded the chapter, and actually, you know, that's another thing that I'm actually really proud of, seeing how that has grown from our initial vision and all the like tiny struggles that we went through along the way, that it has worked so well. I think the hardest thing with that was just trying to everyone had a different idea of what it was. And one thing, I actually went to the national convention, and that's where I learned what it was. And so that was the vision that I had, and it was mostly about a community of service-minded individuals and sort of protecting that community. A lot of, you know, some interpretations were that it's an honor fraternity, so it needs to be the elite of the elite, and people have to be perfect and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the tension in those founding years was from the two different sort of views of what the group was. I was sort of rooted in service and friendship and community and social, and other people were rooted in the honor aspect of it. So it is an honor service fraternity. Leading it from 2 years was exhausting because we, like I said, we were going through this phase where we didn't have this clear identity. I don't think the band went through that same struggle. I'd say the Alumni Association is going through that struggle now, that anytime we found an organization, there's a time when the sort of the momentum and the enthusiasm of its initial leaders and its founding sort of wanes a little bit, and you have a new crop of leaders, a new crop of voices that come out, and you run into some problems. But you know, we got through them through a lot of work from a lot of people. Derry Bush and I used to stay up very late at night trying to work through some of the personal strife that occurred at times. We also had to figure out our place at a university that didn't really know what we were or who we were, both as a band and as an honor service fraternity. There aren't a lot of those at UVA that are really active. So trying to figure out navigate funding and all that kind of stuff was really a challenge. I think they have it sorted out now, I'm not sure. And that's sort of where we are in the Alumni Association as well, is fitting ourselves into this family. And part of the problem with KKY is that we fit this niche, and as the band evolved and got bigger and had more staff, our niche sort of started to move around a little bit. But it seems like everything's relatively happy now, and that's actually really awesome. The CMBAA is one of these groups that I think has a great potential to help us transition from, you know, what was the center of our lives, marching band in many ways, in undergraduate, into our new lives. And, you know, like I said, we're struggling a little bit to figure out our place right now. I think eventually it will be, you know, mostly social and trying to, when people move into different communities, find common ground and common connections. But we're still working that out right now. It's also a difficult time giving-wise. So So alumni associations are primarily associated with fundraising for their parent program. But it's really challenging right now to have such a young alumni base, some of which are, at the family stage, some of which are, just in their young career phase. So I think it's one of those things where maybe we got started a little bit too early. We should have had a little bit more distance, because a lot of us who were leading the charge were still very much involved in the university community. But I think it'll get there eventually. It's just a matter of keeping everything going until we're sort of ready. I think there's a crop of alumni who are getting settled in their jobs and their life situations, who will turn on to the idea of giving back and being sort of an older voice, and moving the Alumni Association from sort of an extension of the social scene of when you were in college to sort of a professional type group. I have memories of going with my parents to their alumni weekends and stuff, and that's sort of what, it was sort of the camaraderie and seeing people again, and that's where I think we need to go. But it's hard. We also have to fit ourselves into a huge university community, and a lot of people in the CMB have multiple ties to the university, and it's hard to balance them all. So we only have a couple hundred people that we're pulling from, and that's really challenging right now as well. So I think it's an organization with a lot of potential, and I think we'll get there.